Well, welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We've got a lot to cover as the countdown to the red wave of 2026 begins. I'm beginning it early before the year even ends, okay? Because next year is the year of the midterm election cycle, and all of us in the MAGA movement need to dedicate ourselves to one thing and one thing only: maintaining and gaining seats in both houses of Congress so that the Trump agenda can continue. Leon, thank you so much for that super chat early on, even before the show began. Thanks so much. Greatly appreciated. All right, I want to get right to it. You know, one of the biggest lies that they tell us on and the left, and the mainstream media and the Democrats, one of their talking points, they really need some new talking points because the ones they're using are quite dated. They've created this lie, the affordability crisis. There's no affordability crisis. It does not exist. Okay? This is a liberal urban legend, which is a nice way of calling it a lie. It's just something they've made up, and they're repeating over and over and over again. In fact, prices all over the United States on so many things are coming down, and this affordability crisis it doesn't exist at all. And there's a Trump campaign sign on almost every street corner in America at gas stations. Okay? And this is a gas station in Colorado. Look at this. $1.93 a gallon. $1.93 a gallon. Holy smokes. What is this, the 80s? No, it's not an old news story from the 80s or the 90s. It's this week. Listen to this.
Another $1.93 at the Exxon off of Garden of the Gods Road. Gas prices in Colorado are extremely low. Colorado ranking 4th lowest nationally, according to AAA.
I came here out of my way to get gas because it's a lot cheaper here.
In El Paso County, the average gas price per gallon is $2.34, $2.41 a gallon in Pueblo County.
I mean, this is insane, right?
$1.93.
$1.93.
Gas is $1.93, which is awesome. I can't believe it. I haven't seen these prices since 2021. I don't know.
But why are gas prices so low?
Refiners are making fuel. Less and less people are driving, drives price down.
In other words, there is more supply, but less demand.
There's stations in Colorado that are $1.70 a gallon, and you haven't seen that since COVID. That's great for families. That's great for consumers. That's great for Christmas budgets.
Especially with the holidays coming up, every bit helps. So.
Wow. So the liberal that's trying to make excuses and give credit to the low gas prices on anything other than Trump's drill policies, he gave us a little bit of news there at the end in his Trump derangement syndrome suffering brain that while this news station is at a gas station where it's $1.93 a gallon, there's places in Colorado where you can get gas for $1.70 a gallon. Holy smokes. The affordability crisis is a lie. In fact, the highest prices for gasoline was when Obama was president. They were well over $4 a gallon. Oh, my goodness. People aren't driving less, they're driving more. He tried to blame it on that. It's because the reason there's an increased supply is because we've increased drilling under President Trump. Drill, baby, drill. And we are producing more oil than ever. Record amounts of oil are being drilled. And gasoline prices drive the price of everything. Now, some people may say, well, why is the gas this price here and that price there? Gas stations can decide their own gas prices. A lot of times gas prices fluctuate by neighborhood. Like if you're in a high-end neighborhood, they'll charge more. People don't want to lower the price. They want to sell their product, whether it's gasoline or anything else, for as much as they can. But now that it's becoming public that gas is as low, now we find out from Colorado, some liberal jerk slipped as low as $1.70 a gallon. Other gas stations will follow because they're going to lose business. People are going to be out there shopping. This is something people don't typically do, but in times like these, they will. People are going to start shopping for lower gas prices. And if they can get under $2, $1.93 or $1.70 a gallon, they're not going to go to the gas station they may have gone to for years they're going to go to the place that's cheap, and that'll force other gas company or gas stations to lower their prices too. But don't let any of these people convince you that there's an affordability crisis. It is a lie. Now, if you're just joining, my name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. If you're watching live, you can call the program live. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. If you're watching on the live stream with the green wall behind me, if you want to see and hear all the audio and video that I play, go to my main stream, which is linked in the description of that video. So, things in this second term of Trump are going so incredibly well on so many different levels. I mean, you look at everything President Trump is doing policy-wise, you would be hard-pressed to find anything policy-wise that he's not hitting a home run on. You'd be very pressed. Everything is going incredibly well. The border security is, of course, perfect. What's going on with the border? He shut down the border. And you wonder, how many lives has he saved by doing that, right? I mean, we know he saved over 25,000 lives this year alone from the reduction in fentanyl deaths, right? Because of all that. I've been talking about that a lot in the last couple of days. But there's less crime happening by these criminals coming from the southern border. I was talking on yesterday's podcast about the fake Maryland man that a judge ordered to be released. That guy was a slave trafficker. So many people, so many Americans have been killed. And an angel mom was on Fox News this week. I want to share this with you. She was at that Kristi Noem hearing earlier this week in Congress. And listen to this. People talk about family separations. This is about family separations. Listen.
This is my firstborn and only son, Ronald da Silva, 29 years old. And what the press, what the media usually don't talk about is real family separations, because what separates me from my son is 6 feet of dirt in a coffin. I cannot travel anywhere to hug my son or to hear him say, "I love you, Mommy," like he used to.
So
sorry, especially this time of year.
You were at that hearing with Secretary Noem yesterday, and as she came out, she was surrounded by protesters who were yelling at her. And in the middle of all of that, you went up and gave her a hug. I just want to show the video here for a second.
There's nothing worse than someone who uses a baby as a political tool while taking babies away from the baby.
Like she hugged her.
You cannot use a baby as a political tool while you take away.
Look at these disgusting liberals.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
So you could hear them yelling at her, obviously, and what a juxtaposition. You there in the middle of it, going up and giving her a hug. What were you thinking in that moment of what was going on just outside of the Halls of Congress?
It was a circus. The whole thing was a disgusting circus.
Yeah, it was a disgusting circus. And these Democrats are just, they're heartless human beings. And you could hear they're deranged. The way they're talking to Nikki Haley, they're a mob of deranged people. And these were the lunatics that would be running the country if President Trump had not won this amazing re-election for the non-consecutive term. I mean, it's crazy. What is this obsession? It's really, I consider it to be a fetish, really, that Democrats have for illegals that are coming to our country to rip us off and criminals that are slave traffickers like the fake Maryland man. I don't get it. Most liberals, if you listen to them, like these people with Kristi Noem, they're completely unhinged. They're dangerous. There's not a sane brain cell in their mind. They have one emotion, rage. Rage. You want to turn the country over to these people? Are you kidding me? You know, if the Democrats were to retake Congress in the midterm elections, those lunatics that were screaming out of control with emotional rage like I just don't hear that often, that's who would be running this country. Now, this this fraud operation that's been uncovered. Let me show this. This is Maria Bartiromo. She was on Fox Business this week.
A new report from the Government Accountability Office uncovers widespread fraud surrounding the ACA advanced premium tax credit subsidies. Federal exchanges reportedly approved fake beneficiaries, and they paid them the premium subsidies. In 2023, 58,000 people who were dead were still receiving payments up to $21 billion. They're going to overpayments or ineligible enrollees. 29,000 cases involve the same Social Security number used in multiple subsidized plans.
Okay, over $20 billion with a B in fraud from the Obamacare. Let me play that again because she gave out a couple of numbers.
Bombshell new report from the Government Accountability Office uncovers widespread fraud surrounding the ACA advanced premium tax credit subsidies. Federal exchanges reportedly approved fake beneficiaries, and they paid them the premium subsidies. In 2023, 58,000.
Okay, 58,000 fraudulent accounts were paid.
People who were dead were still receiving payments up to $21 billion.
$21 billion with a B. Here you have Democrats are telling us, right, in the fake news media, they're all over television telling us that if President Trump doesn't continue Obamacare, sometimes they call it ACA, that there's going to be a complete collapse. Of what? This criminal operation? I mean, start adding up all this theft, right? $21 billion just in this one instance of fraudulent Obamacare monies being paid to people that are dead. So who's cashing those checks? People are getting that money. $21 billion. $8 billion in thievery from the Somalians. My goodness. Yeah, President Trump can end the income tax. The government has so much money. They're being, and these billions of dollars, where are they going and how is it happening? And you have people, you, me, and others, who work your butt off, and we're being told by Rachel Maddow and Morning Joe and Tim Walz and all these lunatics that there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with me because we want some accountability here. We're working hard, and we're finding out that our tax money, we're being ripped off by all these people all over the country. $21 billion. And that's just one instance that they found of payments being made from Obamacare to 58,000 people who were dead. It's crazy. That's like how many we lost in Vietnam. So I know it's completely insane. So who could argue that it is vital to have a program where $21 billion with a B was stolen and paid out to dead people and somebody took the money? Democrats, fake news media, never Trumpers. They're telling us that the entire country will collapse if this doesn't continue? I've never heard anything like this.
But a bombshell new report from the Government Accountability Office uncovers widespread fraud surrounding the ACA advanced premium tax credit subsidies. Federal exchanges reportedly approved fake beneficiaries, and they paid them the premium subsidies. In 2023, 58,000 people who were dead were still receiving payments up to $21 billion. They're going to overpayments or ineligible enrollees. 29,000 cases involve the same Social Security number used in multiple subsidized plans.
Yeah, no wonder there's such a deficit. Between this fraud that's being discovered and stopped, even if they can't recover it, if the money's unrecoverable, which it may be, we don't know, but even if the money's unrecoverable, the fact that these frauds have been stopped, and by the way, it may be recoverable, but even if the money's not recoverable, just stopping the theft and the fraud in these multi-billions of dollars is enough between that and the tariffs to pay off the deficit and eliminate the income tax. See, this is what next year, in the election year, these are the things we need to be talking about and going over them every time. These stories are out there every day. These stories I'm going through today are just things that broke this morning and late last night that I'm covering. Right? This is how we win the midterms. We all know there's corruption in the government, and I think most of us accept, it's a big entity. We accept a certain amount of coverage. But what we're finding out is that it's almost all corrupt, right? Now, I would say it's hard to pick a favorite person in the Trump administration. But if I had to, it'd be Stephen Miller. I mean, Stephen Miller's amazing. He's talking about the Somali fraud.
He's right about one thing. It's not brand new. The Somali community has been engaged in massive, endemic, systematic fraud against the American taxpayer for years. We're going to discover ultimately, and we are in the throes right now of a full-throated, all-hands-on-deck federal investigation, is that the scope, scale, size, and sheer magnitude of the fraud eclipses anybody's worst nightmare. Look, according to official government records, 90% of Somali households with children are on federal welfare. The real number is probably 100% because federal records always undercount. So you're talking about a population that has been imported into Minnesota in which virtually every single member of that population is receiving welfare from the federal government. This could very well end up, Laura, being the greatest financial fraud scandal in American history.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it's worse. That's fraud, too. On top of the $8 billion stolen that we know about from the Minnesota Somalis, that virtually every Somalian's on welfare, that's fraud, too. I mean, how does that make you feel? Sick? Angry? Totally pissed off? All of the above? It's insane. Americans are hardworking, honest people. And we're being so taken advantage of in so many ways it's hard to even grasp and put our minds around it. If you're watching on my main live stream in the live chat, I pinned a link there. That's a link to Jupiter Joe Thomas's radio show and podcast on YouTube. That's his inaugural show. Jupiter Joe Thomas just built a brand new studio, and that's his first show that he did with his daughters this week. So if you could click that link in the live chat and watch that show and subscribe to Jupiter Joe's channel on YouTube, I'd appreciate it. He has a beautiful new studio. I mean, it looks spectacular. So check that out. It's pinned in the live chat. Now, here's another thing that they've been really trying to push hard, and $100,000 a year is the new poverty. How many of you earn less than $100,000 a year and have never earned $100,000 or more in your life? So why are they describing this as the new poverty? I know money doesn't go as far. $100,000 isn't the same today as it was in 1960. I get that, or even 1980. But is $100,000 really the poverty level now? Of course not. The reason this is a common thing. I've been seeing this a lot in the last couple of weeks. This is one of these talking points that they're throwing out there, part of their affordability crisis. They're trying to convince six-figure-a-year workers and earners that they're living in poverty. Now, people that earn $100,000 a year, most people live at their income level. So, they have one or two expensive cars. They have a nicer house. You know what I mean? Your expenses are higher. The more money you earn, the higher your expenses. No question. So, I know people that are six-figure earners that are broke. Okay, that's true. But that's called financial irresponsibility. It's a whole nother thing to call it poverty. But see, people are doing so well in this MAGA country that we're in, led by President Trump in this historic second and non-consecutive term, that they're trying to brainwash and convince people who make a very good living that they're poor, that they're at the poverty level because they're only making $100,000 a year. That's crazy. I remember I was talking, Joe Thomas. I was talking about Joe Thomas a minute ago. I went by Joe Thomas's new studio yesterday. By the way, if you guys checked out that link, it's beautiful, isn't it, in his studio? And I told him, I said, when I first went out on my own, my whole goal, if I could just make $300 a week, I'd be set. Then it was, if I could only make $400 a week, I'd be set. You know what I mean? That's $100,000 is not poverty. Okay. Now, you may be financially irresponsible and be broke and not be able to pay your bills because you're overextended, but don't you see how they do? It's right out of George Orwell's 1984, right? They're trying to, this is gaslighting. Now, I'm not saying that $100,000 is the same as being a millionaire, because it's not, but it's not poor. It's not poverty. And you can live extremely well on that. And you can live extremely well on even less than that. It depends on your expenses. And by the way, where you live. Now, if you live in New York City or Los Angeles, California, and earn $100,000 a year, it doesn't go as far as it does making $100,000 a year here where I live in South Florida. And $100,000 a year in South Florida, if you live out in the middle of Kansas, or even certain rural parts of Florida. If you go to North Florida, if you go to Central Florida, the Panhandle of Florida, $100,000 goes a lot further than $100,000 a year does in South Florida, where I live. So I get that $100,000 isn't the same everywhere so far as spending power because of the cost of living and what houses go for because you're in a more high demand area. But this is textbook gaslighting. Why $100,000 is the new poverty? I did not read the article. Let me pull it up and just see if is that an article link that's connected to it? Let me take a look. Oh, it is. Okay. Let me pull this up. I have not read the article. And let me see how they're trying to spin this. Hold on, guys. Let me look at this. Let me pull this up. Hold on. 1 second here. You know what? Let me take a quick break, and then I'll pull this article up, all right? It's the Brian Craig Show. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered what you would do if you were trapped deep in the mountains with no way out? Find out when you read The Burning Ridge, the Sawtooth Legacy Book 4 from author R.B. Mueller. It's the late 1980s. 14-year-old rancher Tater Thompson, his sister Molly, and their best friend Parley are thrust into the hidden caverns of the remote Sawtooth Mountains, where a secret ancient society has survived, untouched by the modern world. When flaming arrows ignite the forest of Razorback Ridge, Molly and Parley must rely on their faith in God, their courage, and their grit as they fight to survive the dangers of the wilderness. Meanwhile, Tater, his father, and his grandfather face a life-or-death showdown with a tribal chief, guided only by determination, loyalty, and the mysterious ghost deer. The Burning Ridge is a story of bravery, friendship, family, and choosing what's right, no matter the cost. It's perfect for young readers and adults alike. And teachers, the Sawtooth Legacy series makes a great addition to your classroom reading collection. Don't wait. Experience the adrenaline, the heart, and the faith of The Burning Ridge, the Sawtooth Legacy Book 4. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and free with Kindle Unlimited. Are you looking for a gift that lasts a lifetime? One that's personal, powerful, and proudly American-made. At Back 40 Metalworks on Etsy, that's Works, W-O-R-X, they turn ideas into steel. Since 2010, Back 40 Metalworks has been crafting over 200 unique metal art designs, from wildlife and rustic decor to modern wall pieces and custom creations. With more than 30 years of experience working with metal, they know how to shape your vision into something extraordinary. Need a personalized welcome sign for your home? A company logo? A one-of-a-kind Christmas gift? Something for mom or dad on their day? Or any other day of the year? Every piece at Back 40 Metalworks is built to last, indoors or out, and every design tells a story, your story, in steel. Visit the shop online right now. Back40metalworks.etsy.com. That's W-O-R-X. And view the inventory. You will be impressed. Back40metalworks.etsy.com. They turn ideas into steel.
On the line, we have Gina. She's a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. Gina, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing great, thanks. So you went and met with Joe Thomas about annuities. Can you tell me about your experience?
I can't say enough good things about my experience with Joe Thomas. He's a straight shooter. He tells it like it is. He talks in plain language so that you know, because I didn't know anything about this stuff when I retired. So I walked into his office, and immediately I felt comfortable. And I said, look, I know nothing about this. I don't want to lose my shirt. So please guide me in the right direction so that I'll be set. And he sure did. And I'm very happy that I went there. And I even got my mother to join, too. Now I feel comfortable that I'm set, and I don't have to worry about running out of money.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than running out of money before you run out of
Yes.
life, right?
Exactly.
Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call and schedule your no-charge consultation. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999 and online, jupiterjoe.com. All right, Gina, thanks so much.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, we're back. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free no matter where you're watching, 888-465-2631. So I'm going to go through this article. I'll read it with you. This is insane. And I've seen that this is the second or third time in the last week I've heard people try to tell us that earning $100,000 a year is the new poverty level. And, you know, in my time, I've struggled over the years in my life when I was younger and out on my own. Have any of you ever struggled and everything else? Believe me, I mean, I know what it you know, there's a difference, okay, between not, you know, living in poverty and not. And I know a lot of you may live in poverty now. And this is what an insult this is to you. But let me go through this article. The Valley of Death, why $100,000 is the new poverty. The poverty line, a 6-decade-old benchmark, claims to define the threshold to the middle class. The number is a lie, they're writing. So if you think you're middle class, you're not. You're living in poverty. This is an article at a website called thefp.com. They have a writer by the name of Michael W. Green wrote this article, and he writes, "For my whole career in finance, I have distrusted the obvious, and yet for many years, there was one number I assumed was a fact, the U.S. poverty line. I saw Americans feeling poorer every year despite economic growth and low unemployment, but ultimately, I trusted the official statistics until I saw a simple statement buried in a research paper, and I realized that number created more than 60 years ago with good intentions was a lie. The statement was this: the U.S. poverty line is calculated as 3 times the cost of the minimum food diet in 1963, adjusted for inflation. When I read it, I felt sick. And when you understand that number, you'll understand the rage of Americans who have been told their lives have been getting better when they're barely able to stay afloat. And it talks a lot about the 60s. See, here's the thing. You know, I've been talking lately. I got this new iPhone, which I really did not want to get, right? This is an iPhone 17. And the one I had before is a 14, and it's given up on me. And the phones, because, you know, right now, this podcast, I'm live streaming on my computer, but I live stream out and about a lot. And live streaming takes a tremendous amount of work from your phone's battery. So, you know, what happens is the battery doesn't fully charge, and the more you use the phone, because I do live streams that are hours long, and eventually the battery gets to the point where it's dead before the live stream is over, and it starts getting really hot too, and it's not usable anymore, and that's when I upgrade. So I've got my phone I just upgraded to was a 14 to the 17. But how many people go out and upgrade every time there's a new phone? You know, that's exactly right. You know, and back in the 60s, you know, when they first started talking about such things and started with this, you know, middle class and this class and that class, very few people went out to eat. People ate at home. Not takeout, they cooked at home. Now, how many of you are ordering DoorDash or Uber Eats for most of your meals? How many of you do you actually cook at home? You know, when my daughter was living with us, now my daughter's grown up, she's 26, but when my daughter was a kid and living with us, my wife and I, we ate at home and cooked at home, and we made sure that, we had 3 cooked meals a day, and going out was a luxury. Now it's just my wife and I, we really only eat 1 meal a day, and we might go out and pick it up and get takeout at Chipotle or something, or maybe do DoorDash if I'm too busy working during the week. But these are luxuries. DoorDash, Uber Eats, getting the latest cell phone. How many of you have an Apple Watch? And how many people run out that at this $100,000 level, every time there's a new Apple Watch, they go out and get the new Apple Watch, right? Because it's new. How many streaming apps do you have that you don't need? How many apps are you subscribed to? Have you ever look on your phone to how many apps you're subscribed to? So what's going on here is people are not as financially responsible as they were in the 1960s in all kinds of ways. And what people want to do, in particular liberal people, what they want to do is live like a millionaire without being a millionaire. Okay? And that's it. And believe me, I have known many people that earn $100,000 or more that are flat broke, living paycheck to paycheck, and have a lot of problems. But it's because of financial irresponsibility. Their overhead's too high. I talk a lot about how my wife and I, the house that we live in, we've lived here over 20 years. If you're on hold, stand by. I'll get to the calls in a bit. I've lived in this house 21 years. And I have a small house. My wife and I have a small house. Now, here in Florida, I'm very lucky. I live not too far from the beach. I don't live on the beach or the ocean, but not too far. And I could not, and I talk about this a lot, I could not afford to move into my own neighborhood now because real estate prices have gotten so high that I couldn't afford to live in my very own neighborhood. Right? Now, my wife and I, we could sell our house at tremendous profit and go out and buy a bigger house, maybe a little closer to the beach. We could do it. But would that be financially responsible? Right? And I'll tell you another thing, too. With millennials in particular, Ian, our travel agent that does our MAGA cruises from Cruise and Travel Depot, he and I were talking about this a while back. This was an amazing thing. It was maybe a year ago. He was telling me about how travel agents are trained to deal with millennial customers. My generation, I'm Gen X, my parents, and their grandparents, my grandparents, the American dream was owning a house, free and clear, and paying it off. And the millennial generation, they have no interest in owning a home. And what Ian told me from Cruise and Travel Depot is that millennials, what they spend their money on isn't the house in the suburbs like I have or maybe you have. It's on experiences. Really, which means is they have this term a lot of millennials talk about. Have you heard it? Adulting. They don't want to grow up. They don't want to have kids. They don't want to have responsibilities. They just want to party like it's 1999 every day of their life and have experiences. They're irresponsible with their money. But regardless of that, this $100,000 that the liberals are gaslighting people. Now, again, this is the second or third time I've heard this in the last week. So obviously the liberal, there's a lot of financial success in this country. And next year, when the big beautiful bill kicks in, which it kicks in next year is in a couple of weeks, right? January. The big beautiful bill kicks in January. There's going to be some major, major exciting changes that go on, right? Tax-wise and things. I did a show with Jupiter Joe Thomas on his radio show podcast recorded yesterday from his new studio. And there's I can't remember the number, so I'm not gonna quote it. I can't remember the exact number. Every senior citizen receiving Social Security is getting a major, major, major tax deduction this year, which is doubled if you're married and your spouse is still alive. Most every senior receiving Social Security is going to receive a huge thousands of dollars in a tax return next year when they do their taxes, And the left understand that not only is the country back economically under President Trump, but next year when no tax on tips and all these things kick in, when people do their taxes, people are going to be flush with cash. And so what they're doing is this is foreshadowing gaslighting. As the economy is coming back like gangbusters, with all this economic growth and opportunity that President Trump is bringing into our country, They're doing a preemptive. They're trying to convince you that when you hit that $100,000 mark next year, because you're not paying taxes on tips or you're getting these huge returns, that you're still living in poverty. That's what they're trying to do. The left, basically what they do all of the time is lie and gaslight you. And this is one thing, I got a lot of problems with Ron DeSantis, but he's doing something amazing here in Florida.
So we got to put it on the ballot, and the voters have to approve it. It's a constitutional issue in Florida. It's not something the state derives revenue for. It's a local issue. We're trying to focus on Florida homeowners and their primary resident. People that have Airbnbs or whatever, that's separate. Yeah. But your personal home, you shouldn't rent it from the government. You should own it. And, you're paying taxes for 50 years, but even for young families, it's become very difficult across this country to make ends meet. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to have home ownership without having the burden of property tax that? So that's coming to a ballot near you in November of 2026, and we need 60% of Florida voters to do it. And I think it's going to be very popular, but it's also something that's not an easy bar to reach when you have an election like that.
Okay. So, this is going to be a very difficult thing to achieve. It's going to be on our ballot to not have property taxes on your primary residence, your homestead. That doesn't mean we're doing away with all property taxes. Like if you own 2 houses, you'll only have this for the house you live in. Residence or commercial properties that you rent or Airbnbs, you'll also have to pay taxes. But on your primary residence, and in Florida, that averages out to about $3,000 a person. And believe me, property taxes are much higher than that for most people. That's the average. So that means a lot of people are paying a lot more. And Florida has the oldest population, right? So people come to Florida to retire, and they buy a home and they own it free and clear. My mother just fully retired this year. She's 74, and her house is paid for, but she still has the property tax. And a lot of seniors, they retire to Florida, they have their house free and clear. They think they're all excited because they have their house paid for. And then they realize that they still got to pay thousands of dollars to the county every year for property tax. And what Governor DeSantis says is renting, right? So I'm very excited about that. Even with the betrayal to MAGA and President Trump, I tell you guys, he's a good governor who does a lot of good things. And this is amazing. And you look at all this thievery and corruption that I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast, right? $21 billion was paid out in Obamacare benefits to people that are dead. So that $21 billion, the $8 billion, that's $30 billion right there between that and the Somali scandal in Minnesota alone. And they're giving us a hard time over a few $1,000s a year that we want to save so we actually own our house and we're not renting it from the government. The problem is it involves a constitutional amendment at the state level. So we have to have 60% of voters approve it. And liberals are stupid. Liberals will vote to keep paying property taxes. They're out of their mind. I see this all the time. Sometimes there's a ballot initiative to raise the sales tax a penny or half a cent. And liberals just run out and vote for that like no one's business. So a lot of liberals are going to vote to continue to pay property tax because they're stupid. Republicans are for it, so they're knee-jerk against it. There's a lot of renters out there, and they're pissed off at the landlord. They don't understand that the rent is what it is in large part because the overhead cost that the actual homeowner has to do. But it's a start. And if we can get that passed in Florida where we don't have property tax on our primary residence, that is something that will spread around America. That is one of the best things I've ever heard. And the average is $3,000, but a lot of people are paying a lot more. And what people are paying for their property taxes, some people will take that money and invest it. But a lot of people will just go out and go to the mall and buy something or buy a car. It goes right back into the economy. That's how it works. All right, now if you're on hold, hang in there. I'm going to take a break. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. We'll be right back.
This is Mark Laporta, son of Tom Laporta and proud second-generation owner of Laporta Roofing. As a military veteran who served in the Army after 9/11, I've brought the same dedication and discipline to our family business. At Laporta Roofing, we've been serving our community for nearly 4 decades, and we're committed to continuing that legacy of excellence. Our team specializes in all types of roofing systems, from shingles to tile, slate, metal, and flat roofs. We're the go-to experts for single-family homes, HOA communities, and condo associations. What sets us apart is our unwavering commitment to customer satisfaction. I've personally implemented systems to ensure you receive the best in customer service and workmanship. Don't miss out on our limited time offer for a free roof inspection. Call us now at 954-604-4602 or visit us at laportaroofing.com. Trust the experts who have been protecting homes like yours for generations. Again, that number is 954-604-4602.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you they're making it through the year. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow, the 5-pack, for just $29.98. Get the My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25. And a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-716-4879 and use the promo code KANE to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now just $14.98. Queens, $18.99. Kings, only $1 more. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. So go to MyPillow.com, use our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, or call 1-800-716-4879. Promo code KANE for huge savings on your Christmas shopping. In the rugged shadow of Idaho's Sawtooth Mountains, courage isn't just taught, it's earned. And in the book, The Ghost Deer, The Sawtooth Legacy, Book 1, author R.B. Mahler delivers an unforgettable, heart-pounding, values-driven adventure the whole family will love. In The Ghost Deer, meet 13-year-old Tater Thompson, a ranch kid with big dreams, a loyal blue healer named Bandit, and a heart still learning what real courage looks like. When Tater discovers a legendary ghost deer, a massive white buck with a mysterious past, his childhood collides with a challenge far greater than he ever imagined. Faced with bullies, harsh wilderness storms, wild animals, and the dangerous weight of fear, Tater begins a journey to become the kind of young man his family always believed he could be. Along the way, he learns powerful truths about integrity, perseverance, forgiveness, sacrifice, and relying on God, even when doing the right thing feels impossible. The Ghost Deer is filled with life lessons, solid values, strong father and family role models, as well as edge-of-your-seat suspense. The Ghost Deer is the perfect clean adventure for tweens, teens, and anyone who loves classic stories of grit, growth, and of never giving up. Start the Sawtooth Legacy today and order Book 1, The Ghost Deer, available on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, and free with Kindle Unlimited. Begin the journey, discover the legend, and step into a series that builds character with each page. The Ghost Deer, The Sawtooth Legacy, from author R.B. Mahler. Order your copy right now.
All right, we're back. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're on hold, stand by. The toll-free number to call in is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. 2631, toll free no matter where you are tuned in. So they're telling us $100,000, the new poverty level. They're stealing billions of dollars in Minnesota, billions of dollars through Obamacare, and look at this. Newsmax just did some incredible reporting on Democratic Socialist and millionaires AOC.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez under scrutiny after FEC filings show her campaign spending nearly $50,000 in Puerto Rico on hotels, meals, and a venue.
By the way, this is just for that $50,000 is just on her trip to Puerto Rico. This isn't like her yearly travel budget as a member of Congress. This is just to this party girl trip you're looking at here to Puerto Rico.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez under scrutiny after FEC filings show her campaign spending nearly $50,000 in Puerto Rico on hotels, meals, and a venue rental at the arena where she was seen dancing it up during a Bad Bunny concert. Correspondent Sarah Williamson has the very latest for us. Sarah?
Hey, Lydia, look, you're allowed to have fun,
That's
but
right.
on campaign money, I'm not so sure
No, you're
about.
not.
It's not exactly the best
You go to prison
look,
for that.
because these newly filed federal records show that AOC's campaign spent nearly $50,000 in Puerto Rico over just a few months, fueling criticism, of course, of a lawmaker who has built her entire brand railing against wealth, privilege, elites, and excess. Now, Federal Election Commission filings show that for the third quarter, that AOC's campaign reported nearly 50 grand in spending in Puerto Rico just between the months of June and September. The filings list high-end hotels, meals and catering, and event-related expenses paid for, all with campaign funds.
Look at that. This is, again, we're talking about just the Puerto Rican trip. She doesn't represent Puerto Rico. She went there to go to a concert.
The records also show about $23,000 spent on a venue rental in Puerto Rico, the same venue, in fact, that AOC was seen in a private suite at the Bad Bunny concert in August, a moment that went rather viral online. Now, the appearance coming the same month she delivered a speech condemning gentrification in Puerto Rico and economic inequality, further intensifying criticism that her personal choices undercut her political message. Now, under federal campaign finance law, it's important that we do say this spending is actually allowed. Campaigns may legally use donor money for...
See what you're using your donor money for to AOC so she can go to this concert and get drunk.
Travel, adding lodges, meals, event spaces, as long as it's tied to political activity. There is no cap on hotel or venue costs, making this less about legality and more about credibility here. Now, we have reached out to AOC for comment, yet to hear back from her, but in a previously published statement, her campaign manager said that she regularly travels to Puerto Rico to support local causes and that the spending reflected legitimate campaign activity. But for critics, this just reinforces what they see as a familiar pattern of a progressive lawmaker condemning excess while she comfortably is enjoying the very privileges she tells others to reject.
Yeah, that's AOC right there. I mean, look at this. I mean, she's just totally tanked out of her mind. I've never... You know, she's got a lot of... This is what it's like with these communists, right? That's just what it's like. They live like kings and queens. Marie Antoinette here. All right. If you're on hold, I'll go to the phones. Our number is 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Brian. It's John Fernine out of California.
Hey, what's up?
I am so infuriated. I cannot believe what the hell is going on in our government.
Yeah.
There has to be some huge, gigantic changes. This is in my state. We have a $24 billion issue related to homelessness. Everything is a grift. It's all like fake. I'm sorry. This needs to be immediately addressed. In all honesty.
And I don't know. This thing with AOC that I just played. I don't know. George Santos went to prison for using campaign money for private things. I don't know why it's okay for AOC and not George Santos. But you're right. The corruption never ends. It's at a level that
It never ends. I have a question. How do we even know that this huge, gigantic deficit is actually real?
Exactly. It's a good point.
You have no... This is the question that has to be... I don't even believe that we actually have that deficit. That needs to be investigated.
Yeah.
Because who's to say that with all of this corruption that has been going on, that amount of money is actually our deficit? I mean, this is crazy. In regards to what is going on with this healthcare, I'm sorry, it has to be broken. And I mean broken. Nobody should be getting any sort of financial assistance if they haven't filled out a income tax. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get anything back, we have to identify you. We have to see that you're not making any money. That would take care of the illegal alien situation, because most of them actually do not get paid on the books. They usually end up getting paid underneath the table. And that would end up, if you do not have a tax return to verify your income, you do not get any financial assistance from anything. No assistance with food stamps. I don't care. Even nothing.
You know, in a lot of countries, like if you're an American and you want to move to other countries, you have to be able to prove before you can move there. They do checks to make sure you can support yourself and that you have health insurance coverage, and you have to have a certain amount of cash on hand. It's almost like you're buying a franchise for a McDonald's, because they don't want you to come there and become dependent on their government.
You have to do that even to visit. You have to prove that. This is the thing. We have to implement steps that are aggressive, and if people want to complain whether or not they're fair, that's ridiculous. We are bleeding ourselves dry. No wonder people don't know what to do, like how to actually spend their money. Look at what the government's doing.
Exactly. I know.
It's
but see, this is but I'll tell you before you go. I'll tell you this. The good news is, and all this stuff is good news in that it's being exposed.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And
you're so right.
And people like me that have platforms and programs like this, if we focus on this instead of this Jerry Springer drama with Candace Owens, we're going to win the midterms like nobody's business.
We had this talk yesterday, and I was saying that, like, how you actually spend time on really important topics. This is the kind of stuff, like you just said, that needs to be brought to the forefront. It needs to be discussed. It needs to be challenged, and people have to answer.
Indeed.
And penalties have to go out, because this is fraud.
Absolutely.
We're being bled dry by our own government. It has to stop. It has to stop.
No doubt. All right. Appreciate the call. Take care. All right. Again, if you'd like to call in, the number is toll free, 888-465-2631. It's toll free no matter where you're watching. By the way, the Brian Craig Show podcast is available wherever you get podcasts, on all podcast platforms. Just search for the Brian Craig Show. If you want to catch the show live in video form, that's on YouTube or YouTube Music. Just search for the Brian Craig Show and subscribe there. It's free to do. And you can catch the live show in video form when I'm taking live calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. Good morning. This is Richie.
Hey, Richie.
I just can't believe you or this lady that just called. Don't you or the lady that just called, and a lot of Americans realize that these Somalis that are in Minnesota, all their children are autistic.
Oh,
every one of their children.
I forgot.
And every one of their
How
children,
insensitive of me.
And you forgot it.
Yes.
Yeah, and you forgot that every one of their family members have slipped discs that they can't work. They're totally disabled.
I'm sorry.
We invited all these to say, so let's be charitable and take tax dollars and just throw it out there in mass numbers and forget about it.
Yeah.
So if they decide to all become millionaires because they got back problems and autistic children, then it's all justified.
Yes.
I mean, we have to straighten this out. I got to say that I called the other day and I called you back too early, but I wanted to bring a point out to you. And it all comes to this. If you go to Europe, and I'm going to Germany because I've seen it. If I mention the guy's name, would you mind if I mention his name? After your show, people ought to just watch some of the videos. I think you even watch them. Kurt Kaz, do you ever see him?
No, I don't know that name.
All right, he's from South Africa, and he hires security to go into England, Germany, Italy, Spain, all
the Muslim countries.
To expose what's happening. Not just that. And this is why the Democrats, I told you, they recruit these people for votes.
Yes.
And they put them on the dole on purpose.
Yeah.
They're all set up here with our charitable organizations. If you go to Europe, they don't have this same deal. So you know what you have in Europe? You have NGOs supporting these people that have come from basically Africa, and they're laying all over the place, drugging out, taking drugs, living in the streets and fed by the NGOs and hospitalized by the NGOs. So Europe is a disaster, but not so much in the United States. The only homeless we have in the United States are veterans and Americans because all these immigrants have been taken care of financially by the Democratic Party.
That's right.
And I watched Kristi Noem the other day get attacked by all these people. Let me say this to you. Everybody should be pulled off the street and checked out if they look suspicious or they're running or whatever, if they don't have papers. I could care less personally. I just don't see what's going on here. The Democrats protect these people. We even had a Democratic judge send some of these people out back doors to stay away from ICE. They're protecting these illegal thieves and criminals.
That's right.
This is what they do.
That's right.
And the country's upside down. These people are blowing a lot of money for these Democrats who are destroying the United States. And just like AOC and this commie that's going to New York. I mean, I watched the attack Kristi Noem. It's disgusting, especially the guy from New York. They let these people out on the streets. They don't cooperate with ICE, and then they blame ICE if ICE has to do a raid.
That's
ICE
right.
wants to stay
That's
by
exactly
the jail,
right.
and let's take. They won't cooperate, so they're double talking.
Yeah.
And it's just a scam, man. Money, scam. And we're all getting rich on it.
Yeah, and
they're
you know,
getting rich on your money.
it is a organized criminal operation that's nationwide. It's in every state and territory, right? The territories too.
Every state. This fraud is going on all over the place.
But let me tell you. Now this is just from my major concern is winning the midterms and I want to gain seats, right? So. This is just something and a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this. As opposed to sitting around and whining, when are the arrests going to happen? Don't worry about it. Our openly gay Treasury Secretary is doing some major financial investigations into Minnesota right now. There will be arrests. But as opposed to sitting around whining as if nothing's happening, we've got to continue to expose and talk about all the fraud and abuse that's being uncovered. That's what will help us win the midterms. Not sitting around whining that there haven't been enough arrests yet.
100%. And how they can defend, and they put up. Listen, they in front of Kristi Noem, they put up a bunch of crap. They try to get the sympathy of the American people by showing a handful of people that they've arrested illegally, but it actually wasn't. They weren't arrested illegally. She's doing her job. She's doing a great job, and they wouldn't let her talk. They just attacked her.
Exactly.
And it's just a show trial right on television.
Exactly.
These hearings are ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I mean, she couldn't answer anything. They won't let her.
No.
And they accuse her. I mean, this is ridiculous.
But that's okay.
Already.
She's doing a great job. I mean, she's doing
service to America.
I've got some stories on what she's done coming up in just a bit. All right, Richie, appreciate the call. All right, you take care. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll free call no matter where you are listening. If you'd like to support my content, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description of the episode on whatever platform you're tuned in on to my Patreon page. If you become a Patreon supporter, not only are you supporting all my content, you get access to a lot of exclusive things, including commercial-free versions of all my podcast in video form. I upload commercial-free every podcast episode in video form for Patreon supporters only. Okay, you get that. I do live streams for Patreon supporters only. It's a no-troll zone podcast. It's a podcast like I do here on YouTube, but it's on the Patreon platform just for Patreon supporters. And I want to tell you, Patreon, they have this thing where there's free Patreon support. You have to be a paid Patreon supporter to get all of these things I'm talking about, including exclusive things that my wife Kathy and I post to the Patreon page that we post nowhere else. And if you're a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen here on YouTube, and you get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SF Jr., Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, Lee Zepp, Shauna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, and Doris. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. And again, there's a link in the description on whatever platform you're listening to my Patreon page, or you can go directly to patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. We'll be right back.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Hank from Hollywood. How you doing?
All right, Hank, what's on your mind?
I called Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. He sent out Scott. Now, Scott is absolutely the best. Scott and Scott's crew are the absolute best. They gave me a great price. They did the job when they said they were going to do it. They finished the job when they said they were going to do it. The materials they used, absolutely the best. I want to thank Tom. I definitely want to thank Scott, and definitely want to thank Scott's crew. These people are number one, and I just want your listeners to know, Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. If you need a new roof, call Tom at Tom Laporta Roofing. You're not going to go wrong. You're not going to be disappointed.
Do what Hank did. Call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, and online, laportaroofing.com. Sometimes the hardest thing to ask for is help. And yet behind closed doors, millions of families are struggling with the basics. The light bill, the rent, the phone that keeps them connected to work and school. Not because they failed, but because life hits hard. That's why there's CloakedCare.com, a first-of-its-kind platform built on dignity, privacy, and real compassion. At CloakedCare.com, people can privately post the essential bills they're fighting to keep up with. Utilities, medical cost, rent, phone, and more. And donors can choose a bill and pay directly toward it, with funds sent straight to the verified service providers. There's no uncertainty, no middlemen, just real help for real needs. CloakedCare.com was founded by Marine Corps veteran Leighton Clybourne and was named the best anonymous bill payment service in the United States for 2025, honoring its transparent and innovative approach to modern giving. At CloakedCare.com, every contribution makes a measurable impact, keeping a home warm, a phone connected, or the lights on during a tough month. It's people helping people quietly, respectfully, transparently. CloakedCare.com. That's CloakedCare. Visit today to ask for help or to be the help someone's been praying for. CloakedCare.com. Do you ever wish you could step back into the greatest decade of all time, the 80s? You're not alone. That's when members-only jackets made you cool, parachute pants swished with every move, wind leg warmers, big hair, and neon ruled. And your Walkman, Atari 2600, and Rubik's Cube were your most prized possessions? If you missed the A-Team, Knight Rider, breakdancing, hair metal, arcades, and that unmistakable new wave sound, you're not alone. Welcome to WeLoveThe80s.com, the community built by people who still believe the 80s were hands down the most iconic decade ever. At WeLoveThe80s.com, they celebrate everything that made the 80s unforgettable. The music, the movies, the fashion, the video games, the attitude, and of course, the memories that shaped a generation. If the 80s live in your heart, relive them with WeLoveThe80s.com. That's WeLoveTheeights.com. Go right now to WeLoveThe80s.com and take your place among the totally awesome.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free, no matter where you are watching or listening. 888-465-2631. You know, one of my favorite news sources, they do really good stuff, is out of Great Britain, GBN, which is Great Britain News. They're very good. They're very MAGA. And I first learned of GBN when President Trump recently went to Scotland. Remember, he was holding court at his golf resort there, and he got questions from the GBN reporter. It's the first time, and they're very good questions. They're a very good news source, and they're actually Brits that are trying to save England from falling, which it may have already done. But anyway, listen to this. He found a MAGA woman, this guy from GBN, Great Britain News, on the streets of Great Britain. He found a MAGA woman. Listen.
Why have you come down here today?
Trump is a legend, and absolutely here to support him. He's wonderful. He's not a politician, and that's why he's doing so well in America. He's a businessman, and honestly, I wish he could do the same here that's happening in America, because he's saving the people there a lot of money. He loves his country. He's a very patriotic man, and I just wish he was here. So yeah, we've come to support him.
Are you is it a bit of a shame that it's all behind these sort of walls, that we might not actually get a glimpse here on the high street of Donald Trump?
Yeah, I believe he's coming in via helicopter straight into the grounds about 11:45. And then there's going to be a fly past about 4:45 in the evening. So yeah, it's a shame. When Macron was here, apparently there was a carriage ride through the town. That's not happening, whether it's heightened security for Trump and the First Lady, which is fair enough, and also because of the Charlie Kirk incident in the States, the security is heightened. So as long as he's kept safe, that's cool. It's nice to be here in the atmosphere, and yeah, just keep him safe and let him keep doing what he's doing.
Can I ask what it says on your shirt there?
Oh, Brits for Trump.
Brits for Trump.
Yeah, isn't that nice? I mean, see, I know it's pretty cool. One of the things President Trump has done, and this is what they hate, he's united the English-speaking world, right? The left, no matter where they are in the world, but the left in this country, they only have a chance at power if they divide people. And most people agree with President Trump's position on most everything. But if they keep people divided and make them feel like this group doesn't like them and tell them why they shouldn't like this other group, they get people divided doing whatever lines they can find. And when we're divided is when the Democrats thrive. And President Trump is a uniter. And that's one of the many things they hate about him. And, the left, what do the left have? Listen, this is the latest on Governor Gavin Newsom out of California.
Well, it looks like Christmas came early for Republicans, because the Democrats' so-called 2028 frontrunner just handed them a gift with a bow on it. California Governor Gavin Newsom now proudly admitting that his state gives free health care to illegal immigrants.
As it relates to undocked health care, yeah, I'm proud of that, because I believe in universal health care. Others may say it. I did it. We failed on the border. We need to own up to that. Largest border crossing in the Western Hemisphere in my state. Spent $1 billion+ to do migrant centers, try to put a lid on things. And it was quite critical, but I tried to do it in a respectful way of the Biden administration. We failed on the border.
Okay, Gavin Newsom, see, they have no one. They have no one. And here he is. They're talking about what they deny, health care for illegals. While, yeah, I know. Why should he, should we get some type of social benefits from other countries? Should Canada extend their universal healthcare system to Americans just because, they're nice people? I don't think that's how it works. Right? If you're new to my channel, by the way, make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. And I pinned and there's also a link in the description of the video, but it's pinned in the live chat in my main live stream, but there's also a link in the description of the video on YouTube and in the description on your podcast platforms to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel. Jupiter Joe Thomas, he built a new radio/podcast/YouTube studio. It's a very modern and very beautiful studio he built, and he just did his first show with his daughters that he just uploaded to YouTube. So that link is pinned in the live chat. It's also in the description. So if you guys could click that link, check out that show and subscribe to his channel, I'd appreciate it. And yesterday I recorded an episode with him that'll be up. I don't know when he'll put it up, but I recorded an episode with him in his new studio yesterday. So anyway, it's in the description of the episode on whatever platform you're listening on. Please watch and subscribe to that channel, all right? Jupiter Joe. You hear Jupiter Joe. He comes on with me all of the time. But I don't understand why they think that the United States is supposed to take care of all of these people? I don't understand. You know, we've got to take care of our own country and our own people, and you want people coming into the country that are productive, not leeches. Here's the president.
And I've had personal talks with some Democrats. I can't tell you who they are. I just don't want to do that. It's not fair to them. About paying large amounts of dollars back to the people. You know, this was my idea. It came up during that. You know, oftentimes under times of stress, like the shutdown, you come up with great ideas that you wouldn't have thought of before. The insurance companies are making a fortune. Their stock is up over 1,000% over a short period of time. They are taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're not really putting it back, certainly not like they should. So when I see this, and when I've seen this over the last pretty short period of time, I said, why don't we just pay this money directly to the people of our country and let them buy their own health insurance? And you know, I made that statement, and I made it a little bit cavalierly, but it sounded good. And everybody has picked it up, including Democrats. And I am talking to some Democrats right now about doing that. People love it. We're going to take the money, well, if it gets approved, we're going to take the money, we're going to pay it back to the people of our country to go out and buy health insurance. Now, they can put it in a health account. We can do it a lot of different ways. But they buy their own health insurance. They can negotiate price. And it's going to be locked, so they can't go out and buy a Cadillac. They can go out and buy health insurance.
Wow, amazing. While the Somalis are stealing $8 billion, somehow these people have stolen $21 billion in Obamacare money that I talked about earlier in the podcast. And President Trump's going to he's going to give us money. You can only use it for health insurance. Buy your own health insurance. Giving the money to the people to make a choice. You know, and this is what the left hate and the political class hate more than anything. You know what they hate? Freedom, right? Freedom of choice. They don't want you to be able to go out there and choose where you go and get your health insurance or anything else. They want to control every aspect of your life. Now, this is a moment. This is the president yesterday with the Miracle on Ice team. He took questions in the Oval Office.
Do you intend on seizing more oil assets from Venezuela and other tankers?
I wouldn't tell you that. I mean, it wouldn't be very smart for me to tell you that. You know, we're supposed to be a little bit secretive.
Exactly.
You're a very big-time reporter, and I don't think I want to tell a big-time reporter or a small-time reporter that, but we are knocking out drugs at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We knocked out 96% of the drugs coming in by water. And nobody can figure out who the 4%. I wouldn't want to be the 4% either, but 96% of the drugs coming in by water. Every one of those boats you see get shut down. You just saved 25,000 American lives.
Wow.
But we knocked out 96% of the drugs coming in by water. And now we're starting by land. And by land is a lot easier. And that's going to start happening. And
yeah, that's it. I mean, you know, it's really amazing to me. We know that it is a fact that fentanyl deaths are down by 35% in this last year, which is about 25,000 people, minimum. The number's much higher, but minimum lives have been saved. President Trump has shut down virtually the entire drug cartel importation of the deadliest of drug, the fentanyl, into this country, between shutting down the southern border and blowing these boats out of the water. Who would have thought that was even possible? Could you imagine if President Trump was president when the crack cocaine epidemic happened? He would have shut that down too. You know, he's doing these things. It's really amazing. One of the things they hate about President Trump, they hate everything about him, but sometimes you got to isolate these things. One of the things they really hate about President Trump is this, that he takes things that people think are unsolvable and solves them. Right? These little tiny pills that they were hiding and all the illegals coming across, you know, he stopped it. The fentanyl that they have been confiscating, the DEA that's left in this country, they say is far less potent than the fentanyl was just a couple months ago, which means it's not enough to get them high. So, you know, he has a major drug rehab program going on coast to coast as well in the United States because people are being weaned off of fentanyl. And who would have thought that was possible because the pills are so tiny? He got China to stop sending it to the cartels. He got them to stop selling the chemicals that are used to make fentanyl. They're blowing the ships out of the water, stop down most of the trafficking at the southern border by shutting down the border. These are what I continue to call universally good things that he's doing. And they hate the regular people in government don't want anything accomplished. They want you to think that these problems are so big they can't be solved, but they keep promising to find a way to make it better, vote for them without any intention on ever doing anything. Just telling you what you want to hear. President Trump goes out there and takes on these things that they tell you there's no solution to and solves them like that. Caroline Leavitt, let's hear from her. She's on. Caroline Leavitt may be the best press secretary. I think she is the best press secretary this country's ever seen. And she's smarter well beyond her years.
I've been fighting fake news reporters all day long here in the Washington, D.C. swamp who are trying to fearmonger the American people into believing that this administration is going after their hard-earned tax dollars and their hard-earned Social Security checks. So I want to set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify duplicate payments and to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hardworking Americans who have been paying into it their entire lives. So rest assured to all of the people watching your show tonight, if you paid into the system honestly, you will continue to receive your Social Security checks. Do not buy into the lies from the legacy fake news media who are trying to fear you and scare you into believing otherwise. This is what we've seen them do about President Trump for years with every promise that he has made. And he's going in there to protect your hard-earned money. That is the ultimate goal.
See, what's happened with Doge is they've changed how it operates. Now these government agencies, each of them, Treasury, whatever agency, they have their own internal Doge now. And that's why we're getting all these stories coming out of Minnesota, is from Treasury. We're getting a lot of stuff from Dr. Oz of Medicaid fraud all over the country. We're getting all of these things because each government agency has their own little Doge inside of it, and they know what to focus in on, and they're stopping it. Now, this was a moment that is getting zero play in the media because they don't want you to know about it. This is a Democrat congresswoman. She's on C-SPAN, and they're taking live calls, and a guy calls in and cleans her clock. Listen to this. This is about insurance for illegals.
Let's talk to Dennis next in New York, Republican line. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yes, I'm a veteran collecting Medicare. I've been trying to get cholesterol and blood pressure medicine under the Biden administration since 2021 to 2024. And I always had a hard time getting a prescription refilled or anything else. It got to the point I actually went down to the office in Western New York Medical. The whole room was filled with illegal immigrants going in and out. I couldn't even get to the counter to get a refill on prescription cholesterol and blood pressure medicine. Anyhow, long story short, a month ago, I was rushed into the hospital with heart failure and that, and I get there, and for the last 6 months, I come to find out that I got kidney failure and congestive heart failure. Not one doctor from Western New York Medical called to notify me. They knew about this for over a year, and now here I am, and I listen to you Democrats saying that illegal immigrants weren't collecting Medicare and it wasn't hurting the American people. I'm dying right now because of them illegal immigrants getting in line before me, and our medical system and our healthcare system didn't even call to notify me to let me know about this a year ago. Do you have a response for your party and what they're doing to the American people?
Well, let me say I'm sorry for your health problems, and you should have gone to your member of Congress and asked them to help intervene for you.
Oh, how do you do that when you're dying and you need health care coverage? How do you get to your congressperson to take care of that for you while you're in line? Give me a break.
Well, let me say I'm sorry for your health problems, and you should have gone to your member of Congress and asked them to help intervene for you with Medicare, but Biden's gone, so let's talk about what you can do in the future. As far as blaming on the immigrants, U.S. law says that immigrants do not qualify for Medicare.
It's called fraud,
I don't know who was in front of you in line, but let's look at what caused your problem, see if we can help solve it now instead of just blaming other people.
Wow. So more gaslighting from the Democrats, because that is what they do. And then what does she want to do? She wants to talk to him about why he's sick. But did you smoke when you were younger? Did you eat fried chicken too much? Why do you have these health issues? It's your fault. And this gaslighting that they keep saying, well, illegals don't qualify, so they're not getting health benefits. Is there anybody listening to me that believes that? It's called fraud. That's what it is. It's all 100% fraud. Of course they get these benefits. Here's the president again in the Oval Office with the Miracle on Ice team from 1980 last night.
If you make that decision.
Well, I don't want to say that, but it's not
Maduro.
only land strikes on Venezuela. It's land strikes on horrible people that are bringing in drugs and killing our people. You know, if we were in a war and we lost 300,000 people in a year, because that's what the real number is. It's not 100. You know, you keep hearing 100. And it's a lot worse than that because the families are devastated when they lose their child. If we were in a war and we lost 200,000 or 300,000, but I think it's more than 300,000, and that's a war that's like a war that would be unparalleled. Nobody's ever seen anything like that, and that's what's happening. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in Venezuela. It's people that are bringing in drugs to our country are targets.
Yeah, see what the president's talking about there? He's talking about something I've been telling you guys since these strikes have happened. The drug cartels are killing more people than all the wars we've been in combined. It's crazy. Of course we need to stand up and stop it. This is going to be the 9th war, maybe the 10th war if the Ukraine-Russia war ends first. But this is going to be another war that President Trump ends. It's called the war on drugs. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll take a quick break. Be right back. On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. He heard me talking with Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great deal they are. And he went in with his wife, and now he's a client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian.
So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas.
A fine gentleman. We sat down with Joe, and we explained everything to him, and we brought all our information, and he worked everything out great.
The cool thing about annuities is your money's never at risk. You're guaranteed a revenue stream for the rest of your life, but there's a bonus, really a signing bonus, where you can make a boatload of money before you even leave Joe Thomas's office. Can you talk a little bit about that, Bruce?
Well, that's where I was surprised when we sat down. We talked about the bonuses, and to my amazement, it was 10%, and there was even another one that's bigger.
Wow, that's amazing. So you made 10% on your money before you even got back in your car.
Yeah, it was more than that, but it was great.
Listen, guys, do what Bruce did. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call. You can set up a free consultation either on the phone or in the office, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999 and online at jupiterjoe.com. All right, Bruce, thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Brian.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you they're making it through the year. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow, the 5-pack, for just $29.98. Get the My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, and duvets for as low as $25. And a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-717 716-4879 and use the promo code CANE to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now just $14.98. Queens, $18.99. Kings, only $1 more. MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. So go to MyPillow.com, use our promo code CANE at checkout, KANE, or call 1-800-716-4879. Promo code CANE for huge savings on your Christmas shopping. How would you like to make your child's Christmas unforgettable? You can do just that with Santa Voice. With Santa Voice, you generate a personal message from Santa. It's fast, fun, and magical. Just search Santa Voice in the App Store. That's Santa Voice in the App Store.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks, everyone, for joining. If you're new, make sure you follow and subscribe. Okay, so this is one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard in my life. This fake Maryland man, another liberal judge, ordered him released. By the way, the appellate court threw that out. So, this is the chief Border Patrol agent. He was on with Jesse Waters last night.
Once he becomes deportable, for the second time. Remember, he was deportable the first time and actually got deported. When he becomes deportable the second time, we're going to deport this individual. It's too bad that we have these activist judges that legislate from the bench and put MS-13 gang members back out on the streets to harm Americans. That's what we're doing in these American cities, are taking individuals like this, quote Maryland ad, out of circulation and putting them back where they need to be, and that's in their country of record.
All right, just keep an eye on him, because he could fly the coop and go to Chicago, just blend in the Bulls game. You gotta watch guys like this.
Yeah, they should have like a chip on that guy. Well, an appellate court has overruled that court that said he was not deportable, and he's going to go now. Okay, and this is the one that just really blows my mind. We know for a fact that the fake Maryland man is a human trafficker for the cartels or for the MS-13, whichever one he was with, right? Terrorist organization, MS-13. And human traffickers are slave traffickers. Why are the Democrats behind a slave trafficker? They're obsessed with this fake Maryland man. He is like their Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King or something. They've created this myth around him. And see, this is why we need to win the midterms. What President Trump is doing, they're really standing up to these people. And the appellate court threw that out. He is now deportable again. Back to Caroline Leavitt this week in her White House press conference.
And we've unfortunately seen, and the Department of Transportation has uncovered and is actively working to fix these state-sponsored commercial trucking driver licenses, which were going to people who are not qualified to be driving these massive trucks on American roads, and they're endangering the lives of our fellow citizens. We've unfortunately seen many vehicle accidents across the country where people have lost their lives because of drivers that were just simply unqualified to be driving these trucks.
Yeah, so this is a big thing. And then I got another story on this that I didn't have it queued up. Hold on, let me find it. Because this, where is that story? Hold on a second here. I didn't have them quite in order, but I do have it here. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. This is from our Transportation Secretary, Duffy. Look at this. Look at this. Department of Transportation threatens to pull $73 million from New York after audit finds half of commercial trucking licenses went to illegal drivers. Half of the commercial licenses in New York, this is in the New York Post, by the way, half of the commercial trucking licenses in the state of New York went to illegals that are not qualified to drive those vehicles, and obviously they are not approved to work in the country either. But they're still getting them, and this is another example of, the Democrats working for others as opposed to Americans. This thing that was uncovered in the second Trump administration, about all the illegals taking the truck driving jobs. I had no idea it was this bad. Did any of you? If you're in the trucking industry, you probably do. And, you know, I've mentioned this when I've had truckers call in telling them that, you know, I used to see ads all the time for truck driving schools. You don't see those anymore because they're filling those positions with illegals who work cheaper. That's a good job, being a commercial truck driver, long haul and all that. But the wages have gone down so much because the illegals have taken over the business. You know, this idea that the illegals are doing these jobs that Americans don't want to do, like cleaning toilets and such, that's a bunch of nonsense. By the way, there are Americans who do cleaning jobs, and that's an honorable way to make a living. But they're taking high-paid, high-skilled jobs like commercial truck driving. And, you know, for this congresswoman who says that the illegals don't get insurance.
Undocumented immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits resulted in more than 1 million extra people enrolled in Medicaid alone.
California's Medicaid system in crisis, with Governor Gavin Newsom recently asking for not one, but 2 emergency loans totaling more than $6 billion to try to plug holes in the budget, after far more undocumented migrants enrolled in Medi-Cal than anticipated.
In the current year, to cover undocumented individuals in Medi-Cal, we're spending $9.5 billion total funds.
The state of California has taken tens of millions of dollars from the federal government, providing free health insurance for illegal immigrants in California. We're going to get that money back.
A similar crisis in New York, where immigrant enrollment in emergency Medicaid has surpassed 480,000 people. As Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency team insist they've discovered at least 1.3 million illegal migrants have Medicaid. Doge working to make massive cuts.
In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Supporters of providing those benefits say it helps protect the entire community when undocumented immigrants are able to stay healthy.
Oh.
Governor Newsom and others showing no sign of changing course.
No chance of rolling back any of the immigrant health care.
That's not on my dock.
Isn't that something? So, you know, don't let these Democrats gaslight you into telling you that the illegals are not getting health insurance. Not only do they have it, they have better insurance than you do. And what these Democrats are fighting for in Congress right now, when they talk about Obamacare, what they're really fighting for is to keep health insurance for their illegals. It's just like when they shut down the government. They shut down the government to keep the health insurance for the illegals coming in that President Trump had shut down through Doge. And they're continuing to do this. And look at that, New York Post. Look at this. 6 homes, this is a headline in the New York Post. 6 homes, Caribbean vacations, and a new SUV. How Oklahoma pastors spent $3.15 million of embezzled Black Lives Matter money. And, of course, they have a photograph here of her with Ilhan Omar, the $30 million congresswoman from Somalia. I mean, wherever Democrats are, there's financial corruption and thievery, right? Wherever they are. For the life of me, I mean, this is just beyond imagination. And these are the things that we have to keep covering and keep exposing as we move into the midterm election year, right? I mean, that's just what we got to do. We point out this Democrat corruption. Don't get involved in this Jerry Springer drama that's going on with Candace Owens and others. And not only will we win the midterms, okay, we'll gain seats. You know, the midterms, what the Democrats are wanting to win back the Congress for is so they can get their fraud business going. All their friends that are stealing money are no longer getting it. You know, like as an example, this clip here, this is Marco Rubio, okay, talking about foreign aid.
The United States has spent billions of dollars over the years in helping with health strategies all across the world. What we learned over time, and especially after coming here, is that oftentimes, and I'm oversimplifying it, but this is an accurate description, what would happen is we would go to a country and say, we're going to help you with our health care needs. Then we would drive over to Northern Virginia somewhere, find an NGO one of these organizations, give them all the money, tell them go to this country and do their health care program for them. That NGO would then take about some percentage of that money for their overhead and administrative costs. And by the time it got down to it, the host country had very little influence. It was sort of imposed on them. And only a percentage of the overall money ever actually reached the patients and the people on the ground that we were trying to help because of these costs. This makes no sense. So why are we hiring American and international NGOs to go into other countries and run healthcare systems that are parallel and sometimes in conflict with the healthcare systems of the host country? If we're trying to help countries, help the country. Don't help the NGO to go in and find a new line of business. And so that's what the model that we're breaking. We're not doing this anymore. We are not going to spend billions of dollars funding the NGO industrial complex while close and important partners like Kenya are either have no role to play or have very little influence over how healthcare money is being spent. Bottom line is, if you want to help a country, work with that country.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. This, so much of this country, the United States, seems to be just a banana republic, right? I mean, how much of the government budget is financial fraud that the permanent Washington class and the Democrats are stealing? The NGOs, it's like their USAID. The NGOs is how they steal taxpayer money, right? That's how they steal taxpayer money. I want to take a quick break. When we get back, I've got more to share. Don't go anywhere. I know I'm covering a lot. There's so much corruption. I could just do an entire podcast every day just on Democrat corruption, but we're not going to do that. If you're new to the program, make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. The Brian Craig Show podcast is available wherever you get podcast. All right. Also, if you go to wherever you get your podcast, by the way, just search for The Brian Craig Show. We'll come right up. If you want to catch the show live in video form, go to YouTube or YouTube Music and search for The Brian Craig Show there, and you can get the show live. Now, the next governor of Minnesota, Mike Lindell, great Christmas specials going on. Still time to do Christmas shopping. With my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, just huge deals going on. Save 50% off the 6-piece premium towel sets. Over 50% off the Giza Dream Sheets, over 50% off the My Pillows, huge savings on the mattress toppers, the My Slippers $39.98. These are great deals. I have all these My Pillow products. I bought them all using the promo code KANE, except my first My Pillow. The first My Pillow, he wasn't with us yet, so I didn't have the promo code. But after the first of the year, I've been doing that early pre-show before the radio show every morning, coming on about 20 after 5 in the morning. 5:30 at the latest, but that early pre-show, plus a lot of the extras I'm doing, including all these weekend streams, are brought to you by Mike Lindell and My Pillow. I'm going to get the word after the first of the year if they're going to ink that deal for all of 2026. So for me to do that, we have to have a good showing in sales this month with our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E at checkout. So please go to mypillow.com and load up with my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, for huge savings, okay? Because I want to get that deal for the early show. I enjoy doing the early show, and they're supporting it. Plus, you're supporting every time you use my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, at mypillow.com, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting the next governor of Minnesota and his run against Tim Walz and the Somalia corruption machine. So go to mypillow.com and load up. This was Jesse Waters, actually, did a report on this BLM theft ring.
Fox News alert, a BLM executive indicted for embezzling millions in donations and spending it on vacation, shopping, houses. Senior national correspondent Kevin Cork has the details. Kevin.
Crazy stuff, my friend. Authorities say over a 5-year period, 52-year-old Tashella Sharia Moore Dickerson, just like the song, the executive director of Black Lives Matter OKC, diverted more than $3 million in return bail checks right into her very own bank accounts. And tonight, thanks to a 25-count federal indictment, she faces up to 450 years behind bars and millions in potential fines. Dickerson charged with 20 counts of wire fraud and 5 counts of money laundering following a scheme in which she's accused of routing money intended for the group's programs into accounts that she controlled between June of 2020 and October of 2025. The indictment said she used the money for her own personal benefit, including travel to Jamaica and the Dominican Republic, tens of thousands of dollars in retail shopping, more than 50 grand in food deliveries.
Yeah. Well, you can see where that money went.
Also a vehicle and 6 real estate properties as well. When contacted about the charges, a spokesperson for BLM says that they practice a, quote, model of decentralized leadership. Got it. Oh,
There
and
she
by
is.
the way, you've heard the
Villain
expression, birds of a feather flock together. Well, I'm going to leave this right here, Jesse. That's Dickerson with Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Draw from that what you will. And while Dickerson is obviously presumed innocent until proven guilty, you may recall that BLM actually had a situation back in 2022 when the group, not the one from OKC, came under fire after allegedly making a $6 million property purchase in California.
There we go. I mean, and think about this. If President Trump had not been reelected, this indictment never would have happened. It would have continued. It would have gotten worse, and that's just the way it is, right? I mean, this is what this is what the Democrats are running on in the midterms. Vote us back in so we can get back in power and get our financial corruption operation going. The entire Democrat Party, they all need to be indicted on RICO charges. It's a vast conspiracy of nothing but financial fraud. In fact, the Democrat Party only runs for office and holds office so that they can steal money from the government. They really have no agenda or platform. They just want to be in power so they can steal all this money. And for those of you who say, well, what's going to happen? Well, here's a big indictment. Imagine in Biden's America getting an indictment like that on a BLMer. I don't think so. Now, if you're new, please subscribe and follow wherever you're listening. And I want to tell you guys, if you're in my main live stream, there's a link in the chat to Jupiter Joe's new podcast, radio, YouTube program that he's just launched in his new studio. The first show just went up yesterday. Please click that link. There's also a link in the description to Jupiter Joe's YouTube channel. It's his first inaugural show with his daughters in his new studio. It is a beautiful studio. And I stopped by yesterday when I got off the air and recorded an episode with him that'll be up sometime. I'm not sure when he'll upload it, but if you could please check out that video and subscribe to Jupiter Joe's channel. There's a link in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening on, okay? Jupiter Joe on YouTube. But there's a direct link to his YouTube channel in the description of the episode wherever you're listening. And if you're live on my main stream, I have the direct link to his first episode pinned in the live chat. So please go check that out, watch and follow, and share your thoughts on his studio. It's a beautiful studio. Let me know your thoughts on it. All right, guys, I'll see you later. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.